When you initially enter the cockpit, all the EIS displays are normally off. The displays require AC electrical power to operate, so unless either the APU or a ground electrical supply are available, the displays will not operate. We will connect a ground electrical supply for you. Normally, the ECAM screens are switched on in the order of upper, then lower. For training purposes, let's switch them on in reverse order to see what happens. Switch on the lower ECAM display. Notice that EWD information is displayed on the lower ECAM screen. This occurs because it has priority. Therefore, if there is only one ECAM screen available, the engine warning display information will be displayed. Now, switch on the upper ECAM display to see what happens. Notice that the engine warning display information moves to its normal position on the upper ECAM screen, and the door oxy system page is displayed on the lower ECAM screen. The door oxy page is what the ECAM system will automatically display because you are on the ground with the doors open. The memo area of the engine warning display has a message telling you that refueling is taking place. We will now start the APU. When the APU master switch is pushed on, the APU ECAM page automatically appears. Next, the start switch is pushed, and the APU begins its automatic start cycle. Note that there is no light on the ECAM control panel APU push button because the APU page has been automatically called as part of a normal sequence. The APU is now running as evidenced by the avail light on the APU start push button. Shortly after the APU start is complete, the ECAM door oxy page is automatically recalled. During the pre-flight, one of the things we do is check fluid levels. For example, the quantity levels for hydraulic fluid and engine oil. The required system pages are manually called by pressing the associated key on the ECAM control panel. Let's call the ECAM hydraulic system page. The ECAM hydraulic system page is displayed. Notice that there is a light on the hydraulic key on the ECAM control panel to indicate that it was manually selected. You will do the fluid level check in the hydraulic module, so let's see how to return to the ECAM door oxy page. To deselect a manually selected ECAM page, the lighted key on the ECAM control panel is pressed. Press the hydraulics key on the ECAM control panel. The ECAM door oxy page is displayed, and there are no lights on the ECAM control panel. Remember the lights out philosophy. The next action is to press the recall push button on the ECAM control panel for at least 3 seconds. Pressing this push button recalls any warnings or cautions that have been cleared since the last power-up. Since we are starting the aircraft from cold, a normal memo will be seen on the engine warning display because there is nothing to recall. If we were on a turnaround, the display would recall any warnings or cautions that had occurred on the previous flight. In this example, a canceled caution concerning the digital flight data recorder has been recalled. You will see how a caution is canceled in the Abnormal Operation module. At this point, the passengers have boarded, the doors have been closed, and the slides armed. On the ECAM door oxy page, observe that there are no amber indications and that there are 6 white slide indications. When the ground personnel attach a tow bar to the aircraft, they disconnect part of the nose wheel steering system. The ECAM system will detect this and provide a green memo indication, nose wheel steering disconnect. Let's start the engines. The ECAM system will automatically display the ECAM engine page while the engines are being started. Notice that as soon as the first engine is running, the nose wheel steering disconnect memo changes to amber. This happens because ECAM has detected that you are capable of taxiing, but you have the steering disconnected. When we arm the ground spoilers, a white band appears on the spoiler handle, and a memo appears on the EWD showing that the ground spoilers have been armed. Also note that the flap indicator has changed to show the takeoff flap setting. Another part of the after-start check involves checking the status page. Since there is no status reminder at the bottom of the EWD, the status page obviously is clear. Approximately 2 minutes after the second engine has been started, a takeoff memo appears on the EWD. The takeoff memo lists a series of actions to be performed before takeoff. In this example, there are blue action items remaining, specifically setting the auto brake to max and the takeoff configuration test. We will set the auto brakes to max for you. The blue action item has changed to green. Auto brakes have been armed to max. The final item requires testing the takeoff configuration. This is done by pressing the takeoff configuration key on the ECAM control panel. Select the takeoff configuration key. Pressing the takeoff config key simulates the application of takeoff power. If the aircraft is not in a takeoff configuration, for example, flaps not in the correct configuration, then an ECAM warning or caution will be triggered. The system also checks the side sticks and the flight control computers for faults. Provided ECAM detects that the aircraft is in a normal configuration, then the takeoff configuration memo changes to normal. Observe that there are no blue action lines on the EWD. We are now at the threshold about to take off. When the engines are set to take off thrust, the ECAM engine page is automatically called. On the engine warning display, notice that the takeoff memo is replaced by normal memos. A magenta takeoff inhibit message has appeared. The takeoff inhibit message is advising you that some warnings and cautions have been inhibited during the takeoff phase. The aircraft is now airborne. After passing 1,500 feet AGL, or 2 minutes after liftoff, the takeoff inhibit ceases and the memo is removed. When the flaps are fully retracted, the ECAM engine page is automatically replaced by the cruise page. When established in cruise, the system pages are periodically reviewed. Call the ECAM engine page. Notice that while the engine page is displayed, the corresponding light on the ECAM control panel engine push button is illuminated. You will study the indications on the system pages in the appropriate modules. So let's continue with the review. Call the ECAM bleed page. The ECAM pressure page. The ECAM electric page. The ECAM hydraulic page. The ECAM fuel page. The ECAM APU page. Notice that there are amber indications on the APU page. Because the APU is shut down, these are acceptable for this stage of flight. Call the ECAM conditioning page. The ECAM door oxy page. The ECAM wheel page. The ECAM flight control page. After reviewing the flight control page, the cruise page can be recalled. Notice that there is no push button to select the cruise page. You have to deselect the manually selected page. Recall the ECAM cruise page. The cruise page is displayed and the ECP has no lights illuminated. As an alternative to selecting the individual system keys, the All key can be used to sequence through the system pages. You will do this in the ECAM Abnormal Operation module. We will now establish a descent for landing at our destination. As part of the approach checks, the status page is checked. Since there is no status reminder on the EWD, the status page is normal. The aircraft is lined up on final approach. As the landing gear is extended, the ECAM system will automatically display the wheel page. The wheel page is displayed to provide information useful for the landing, for example, brake temperatures and spoiler deployment. On passing 1,500 feet with the gear down, a landing memo appears on the engine warning display. On modified A320s and on all A319s, the landing memo appears at 2,000 feet. Note the blue action item reminding you to arm the spoilers. We will arm them for you. The blue action line is replaced by a green action completed indication. Notice that there are now no blue action lines outstanding. At approximately 800 feet, the landing inhibit becomes active, and this is indicated by a magenta memo. The landing inhibit message is advising you that the vast majority of warnings and cautions have been inhibited during the landing phase. At engine shutdown, the ECAM door oxy page is automatically recalled so that you can check slide disarming. Notice the pulsing status message on the EWD. This is telling you that there is a maintenance-related message on the status page that you have not seen. Call the status page. There is a white maintenance status message at the bottom of the status page. This message is an indication for maintenance personnel that a system requires a maintenance procedure at the next program servicing. It does not mean that the aircraft is unserviceable. Clear the status page.